Well, thank you for for having me. That's what I was saying. But yeah, to give everyone a quick intro to myself. So as Jamie mentioned, I'm founder and CEO here at Prentus. And with Prentus, the overall goal for us is to build a job search that's fair, fast, and fun for everyone. So as you probably know, if you started a job searching is a game, but there's all these sorts of rules you got to learn about it. It's not just about what you have to do in your job, but it's a whole different skill set. Resumes, LinkedIn's, interviews, everything. And it can get quite confusing. So when you don't come from a well-connected family or community or background, then you might not know all these things, and that's okay. We're going to fix the job search overall, but for now, we want to help you play the game as it currently is and win. So Jamie, for the chat, like, were you going to do a Q&A, or you want to just go riff?
So we can do a Q&A definitely at the end to kind of pick things up, but usually they'll, based on what you're sharing, they'll ask questions along the way. So that's why I said, if you guys can just put those in the chat for now,
Gotcha.
So that way we can keep the flow going. And then when Rod has, like a moment, or he has an opening for questions, he'll grab them, or I'll ask him the questions.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So sounds good. So, what I think first is in tech sales, you're already at an advantage in the job search, because if you look at everything I've ever told job seekers, it's pretty much everything that you're learning to do. You got to prospect, you got to send cold emails, you got to run demos of yourself and interviews. And all these skills are exactly what you're doing in the job search. And salespeople have an advantage because of that. You're the same muscles you're building in class are the muscles you're going to build in the job search and eventually in the job you work. So looking at it as an end-to-end pipeline, first, prospecting. So who should you talk to in your job search? And there's a bunch of different people. I posted something recently, but there's in-house recruiters, agency recruiters, hiring managers, directors, team members, and everyone in between. So knowing who to reach out to first is the first step. So let's say that, for example, you're applying to a job. You want to be an SDR. So looking at that, the number one person you always will want to go to first is, if you can find the hiring manager, connect with them. Look them up, find something unique that you can connect on, whether it's something personal that they posted or something in a past role, or something you can determine that's a question they want to answer. So a lot of the same things that you would do when you're sending a cold email. And when you apply, you want to quickly say, hey, apply to this job. Here's a one-liner about myself that will kind of stand out, show why you're unique from other candidates. And then after that, ask them a question. So always end with a question, because if you put the onus on them for thinking of a next step or what to even think of to answer, then you're way less likely to actually get an answer. So ask a question, whether it be something you're interested in or something about a next step for them to take in the interview process, and keep the process moving. Also with prospecting, so say that there's jobs that aren't posted, which, like, these days they still throw on the stat that like 70% of jobs are done through networking. So I've heard plenty of times how jobs were created for people that just connected with someone and turned out to be the right person. So how does that happen? So look at different companies, and right now the hiring market is a little bit crazy. So people are either canceling roles, or they post roles, but it's actually old roles. At the same time, there's these roles where people are like, do I hire? Do I go through the hiring process? But if you slid in their DMs and you're a good fit, they might just be like, oh, okay, we have someone, like, let's just hire anyways. And poof, a role comes out of nowhere. So aside from just cold applying, you want to be proactive and look at these companies. So how do you target these companies? And then who do you target when you're doing this outreach? So one, as I'm sure many of you are, career changers. So your previous experience, use that. You have experience in an industry. That industry has all these different things you got to learn. Like, before I worked in like financial stuff, and like took me like a year to understand even half of what they were talking about. So whatever industry you worked in, you have a leg up there. So I always recommend looking at your industry first. So for example, let's say you were a waiter. Look at companies that are in the hospitality space or have worked with restaurants or food services, and then go to their page and look at different teams. So you want to see hey, maybe there's a sales team that's focused on enterprise contracts or whatever. So whatever it is, you find the team, and then from there reach out. So how do you find the team and find these, like, who in the company to reach out to? I personally love Apollo. So whether someone's in sales or not, I always say go to Apollo, look at the companies, filter down by industry, size that you want, and then find the person on the team that you want to work in. And that's how you find out who to reach out to. And you'll also be able to get the LinkedIn, email, and so on. So use those tools, and that's how you're going to first build this pipeline. All right, so you're saying, how often do you see a company create a role or decide to go ahead and hire? So I hear about that way more often than cold applying. So there's some person that I talked to recently that they just stopped applying after like a month ago, I think, and they were just posting on LinkedIn and just chatting with hiring managers, and they got 2 offers, 2 roles that were created specifically for that person. So that it's happening a lot, and these undercover roles, you kind of have to extract it from these businesses because they're being a little bit skimpy with posting them, especially because each job they have to post is also costing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, or if you use an agency or a platform, yeah, it could be $10,000. So there's all these different costs associated. So there's all these undercover roles that you have to extract. We teach you to do outreach with SDR manager, the VP of sales. Thoughts on outreach? So it's it's really going to be dependent on the company size. So in a small company, maybe you reach out to CEO. The CEO, I know CEOs are always very excited when someone is like, hey, your company is great. So if you compliment a CEO and tell them something about their company that stands out, they'll be like, oh, great, how can I help you? Even though they're busy, that's a great way to get the in and to get to the decision maker. But then, if you go to a 5,000 person company, you're not talking to the CEO, that's for sure. So you got to find those specific teams, get as precise as you can. So getting to an SDR team that is in a specific division. To get to an SDR team that's in a specific division that aligns most likely with your skills, and get with that person. And even sometimes you don't have to reach out to a manager. When I worked at American Express, there's somebody that just reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I wasn't a manager, I was just an analyst, but we were about to open a role, so she got me at the exact right time, and I was like, hey, this person looks interesting, we should interview her. And we ended up interviewing her. Don't know what happened because I left the company shortly after, but at least she got that part. So just know that whatever is out there is not the only thing that is out there. You can get more out of there. All right, so that's prospecting. So then doing outreach itself. So I mentioned LinkedIn DM, but use multiple channels. So yes, there's LinkedIn, but you have to check their profile. Have they been posting? Have they been liking stuff? Maybe they're not active on LinkedIn. A lot of job seekers are active there, but you have to find the channel that your target is active on. Email, everyone has email, but differing results there. So when you do send an email, track it through HubSpot or whatever you're sending through, and just figure out, hey, is this a channel that they're checking? Maybe I have to tweak my message to get through, but try to find that. And then you can look at other things, Twitter, a Discord, a Slack group. There's all these different sources where you can kind of meet people or get in touch with them. And usually in my experience, the more niche it is, the less volume that they're getting through that inbox or channel, the more likely that they'll look at your message and chat. And when you're writing an email specifically, so looking at the format, you'd want to, again, always end with a question, but you want to reiterate, why are you special? So, look at, I'm sharing your courses you talked about, cold emails and how to do different scripts. So use the same thing. In terms of formats for cold emails, one of my favorite follows on LinkedIn is Josh Braun. And Josh Braun, he gives you different formats where you kind of stress a pain and hey, are you dealing with this? And if you stress a pain, hey, looks like your team's small and you're probably not getting as much volume as you wanted to. Got a couple ideas on how to drive more meetings for your reps? Can we chat? So, something, few sentences, 5 sentences max, and call to action at the end with something that they can actually answer to. And if you do that, you never know where the conversation could lead. Then, going from the outreach phase, you might have to also follow up. So, be relentless. The people that have decision-making power usually also have a lot of meetings and other priorities. So follow up 3 times max. After that, I don't think it's the best use of your time. But if they don't answer the first time, just like with sales, keep going. They probably are busy. Going to demo. So how to interview. So when you're interviewing, the old knowledge is actually still pretty good. So the STAR method of situation, task, action, result, that is time tested. And basically talking about your stories and behavioral interviews of, hey, this is what was the problem. So then I went and did this and I drove this value. Always bring it back to value that you can deliver for a company. And with the value part, that applies to the full spectrum of the process. Don't just say, hey, I can write emails. A lot of people can write emails. ChatGPT can write emails right now. So what are you going to do that's different? What sort of value are you going to? Can you run a campaign that will get 20% booking rate, for example? Are you going to get a lot of demos booked for them? Are you really good at cold calling? So whatever it is, stress that value and be specific. And that's going to be across your entire portfolio, but also the interviews. Then your elevator pitch. So elevator pitch, you're going to have to say it in any networking conversations. So no matter where you're talking to someone, if you have a conversation, they're going to ask, what do you do? Or, what are you doing in your career? What are your goals in your career? What are you learning? So always have something like that ready. So that way you can quickly say, hey, I'm doing X. I'm headed towards Y. Can you help with Z? So have that ready for the interview time also, because what's the first question they're going to ask you? Tell me about yourself. And again, that's the elevator pitch. So practice, practice, practice. Do it in a mirror. Film yourself on a Zoom or a Loom and just figure out what is your value and how can you stick through the noise versus just saying, I'm a hardworking teammate player. Then going into later in the interview process. So, you did the interview, you crushed it, had all these answers that were really good. After, follow up as well. People want to know, hey, how interested are you in this opportunity? And looking at recruiters, I can tell you for a fact, right now, they're overloaded with applicants and they're looking for reasons to disqualify people. So if they post a junior role and they get 500 applicants, they're like, okay, so first let's slim by, who didn't include their full name, who didn't link their LinkedIn and their resume, who's in a different time zone, all these little ticky-tack things. And that continues down the pipeline as well. Who didn't send a thank you email, who was, not really interested, who didn't ask great questions at the end of the interview. So each of these little details are very important now, more than ever. So make sure, cross your X's and O's, and then make sure that you're on top of each part. And then going through the process. So once you're from prospecting all the way through the end of the interview stage, now what you're going to be doing is reviewing. Just like you would with a demo and outreach process, you look back at this campaign you ran or this demo you did over time, and what were the results? Were your pitches hitting? So first you look at the pipeline. Did you make it through to an interview at all? If you're not making it through to interviews, that your marketing, your messaging, your positioning is off. If you're getting the interviews, but then you're not getting a second interview, for example, then that maybe you're not really doing well at the phone screen part. So qualifying your skills for a recruiter, whoever that first conversation is. And then if it's like the second interview, you're falling out, then what is going on with your behavioral interview questions? Are you actually telling great stories? Are you giving good examples that show off the skills that you will bring, and giving them examples of how you are going to increase the value of the company? That's what you need to be looking at. And at the end of the day, remember, it is a value equation. They're looking at you as, hey, if I pay this, SDR, let's say $80,000, will they bring me at least $80,000 of new business? Usually they're looking for at least double, triple, quadruple that amount. But that's the equation they're doing, is paying this money out, will that bring more money in? And as you go through the process, you do have access to Prentus through Elevate. So if you're on that, that's where you can start building kind of like the CRM habits. So as you apply to jobs, you can track each thing with a Chrome extension, put it into the app, and what you can do is tweak on different resumes. So you have resume 1, resume 2, and then you can filter down and see, hey, which one's doing better. So that's one way. And then also tracking the details in each job is just like a CRM. You have the description of the job in this case. In the future, you have a description of a company. You could track tasks and follow-ups and different notes, but building those organizational skills now is exactly what you're going to have to do once you start the real thing. So aside from that whole process, there's everything else. So, you have your resumes, you have your LinkedIns. I won't talk about resumes too much for today, but your LinkedIn is basically your landing page. That's where you're going to be getting your leads. So with your LinkedIn, there's LinkedIn Live that we did last week. So definitely check that out on my profile. But some of the big things there are, 1, make the most of your headline, since that shows up on comments, post at the top of your profile, of course, and will signal people what kind of work you do. So not just SDR. Definitely don't put aspiring SDR. A lot of people put aspiring or eager or future. You are that role now. No one wants to no one wants to hire the future person. They want to hire the person right now. So own that role in your headline. But at the same time, don't just put another headline that's going to be seen across the board. So yeah, there might be some tips that you get from career services, and they say, hey, use this format. But if everyone's using the same format with no changes, then when a recruiter's looking through these profiles, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. They're going to be like, oh, who's that person I looked at again? Oh, another person that said SDR, cold emailing, SaaS. So switch it up, make yourself unique on your LinkedIn profile in the headline. Then looking below, so if you have cold email scripts or phone calls that you've done in the past, you can link those. So LinkedIn has a cool feature called Featured. And what you can do is link to different projects, include a picture, or whatever it is you want to include, put it there. That could be, what's interesting is you could put a picture of text, and that's actually going to perform better than just linking text. So keep that in mind. And then for your experience, same thing as resumes, keep it concise. So look up the rules of copywriting, which is short, choppy copy, use simple words, none of that, big SAT words that they taught us in school. And 3, break it down your paragraphs. You don't want to have giant blocks of text. Try to keep things one line and make sure that people actually want to read it versus just skipping it over. What are your thoughts on having an open to work circle on your LinkedIn? So there's pros and cons to it. So I used to be very anti because, when it's just like in dating, when you're so available, it's like, oh, okay, like a person's desperate, people don't want to date. But then you go in a relationship and all of a sudden, like everyone's like, all right, I'm interested. So it's like when you're unavailable, then people want you. And it implies the same thing in hiring, where the green is kind of getting like a negative connotation, like mentally. But at the same time, recruiters look at who's actually like looking for work when determining who to DM. So say they do have a role and your LinkedIn showed up and you're a match. So if you have that, they might be more likely to actually reach out because like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time if I spend 5 minutes writing a DM because they're actually looking for work. Well, if they send it to someone that isn't with a green banner, then they're like, you know, did I shoot my shot or not? So personally, I wouldn't, and I would make it seem like I'm less available. And then from there, just, you know, apply and tweak my profile as needed. But LinkedIn did change it where you can put that you're available to work and not have the green banner. So you'll show up in searches, but it just won't be if someone comes on your profile by mistake. Also with LinkedIn, so, you know, when you're going for an SDR role, a lot of it is writing. And as I mentioned before, ChatGPT can write a lot of it. So what are you writing that's sticking out from that? Because like I've generated emails from ChatGPT and like they're not good. They're generic, stuff that I would ignore, throw it out. So definitely focus on copywriting. And 1 second, someone raise their hand.
Oh, I didn't mean to, sorry.
Oh, okay. Jamie, I do not know where that's a profile it's definitely a profile option. I would guess it's in the settings.
Okay, so like kind of when they go to adjust their profile, and they should have that option to say they're open to work, but not have to put the green banner on there. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So
Okay.
I know it's like a recent thing, but like you can turn off the banner. So I'm assuming it's in the same spot.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So, but going to, you know, the writing samples again. So to show people that, hey, I can actually write well and get attention, practice writing LinkedIn posts, because the format for a good email is honestly pretty similar to like a LinkedIn post. You need to have that hook that makes someone read, split out the information, be clear. And if you start posting on LinkedIn, 1, you'll get better at writing, but 2, each post you put out into the void, that is a shot on goal. It's a chance that someone likes it and then everyone in their network sees it. Or, you know, you post it and then for some reason it comes because of like a hashtag and you get exposed to a whole different network. So each of those is a shot on goal, new network that you can get plugged into, and new eyes that can now see, hey, that you're job searching. So posting is definitely a huge part, and it's going to come in during the interview stage too, because then they have, you know, a secondary portfolio to look at. Yeah, you might have something featured like your cold email scripts, but they can look back at that and be like, oh, you know, they're getting attention on here. They know how to write. Like I want to read their post, so probably our customers are going to want to read that too. So yeah, I know some people want to go cold email scripts and you know, really focus on that side, but overall, really flexing your written communication and focusing on copywriting, so writing to sell, that's going to pay off huge dividends.
Hey, Rod.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Prentus for obviously the Elevate folks, but we also have a lot of folks outside of Elevate. So kind of like how can Prentus help them in this, you know, quest to get into tech sales or to get their second role or wherever they are in their career?
Definitely. So is it possible to share a screen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not turned off or anything.
Okay, 1 second. All right. So when someone is job searching, before I was mentioning, you know, you want to basically start tracking your entire search. So with Prentus, the first thing you want to do is track your job, track all your information so you stay on top of everything, but also you can understand how you're doing at each step of the process, because whatever doesn't get tracked doesn't get managed. So the job tracker, you'll be able to add jobs internally, but also using the Chrome extension. So I go to, let's go LinkedIn, go to jobs, and I have the Chrome extension installed. You see it pops up as a tab. So then every time I open a job, I can click on the Chrome extension and it'll pull in the details. After that, I click Save Job, and it'll get added into the job tracker. Once it's in here, you can track every part of the process. So clicking into one of these jobs, you can keep the details, like the job details on hand, because lots of times people will delete the job description. So that's one. Two, a new feature we launched is the AI assistant. So generating cover letters is definitely recommended because it's an easy way to go to the top 10% of applicants. Because, as mentioned before, people are trying to eliminate candidates for a lot of reasons, and not having a cover letter is an easy way to eliminate people. So don't make that one of the reasons you're eliminated. And then interview questions too. So interview questions can be generated based off of the job description. So you can prep and it'll generate a list that you can start practicing answers for. When you use the cover letter, it's actually going to look at the job description and your profile in Prentus. So that way it's going to be tailored and understands what you've done in the past and makes sure that it matches the description. But of course, still I'd edit it, add your own twist on it, and then save and put into a PDF. Also, with each job, you can set tasks. So we'll automatically remind you to send a thank you email, but anything else you need to do. So whether it's follow up with that lady from HR, or tweak the resume before applying. So whatever it is, add the task in here, and those will show up in your planner. And as you go through the interview process, you can always create the events in here. So it's like, all right, I have a behavioral interview, a phone interview, and you add them in, and you can sync with your Google Calendar, so everything is organized. The notes, same thing as a CRM. Add the notes, whatever you've done, so you don't forget, because believe me, there will be a lot of jobs. And then connections will just be in your community if anybody works at the company. So sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. Then going to stats. So go to list view. The list view will show your interview rate, and that's going to be like the big part where you want to see how am I doing in the initial funnel of my interviews. So you can track all your stats and then see interview rate here. And one cool thing is you can add multiple resumes in here. So you can then look at performance across resumes. So like this one's resume new, and I see, okay, 100% interview rate for SDR roles on this one. So you could say, hey, this one's good, and continue with it. You can also filter down by other fields, like the focus of the role, remote policy of the role, location, and figure out where your niche is. Also on the planner side, so one, there's weekly goals. So if you hit your application goals for the week, you're going to be able to earn career points. And where that comes in Elevate's case is whatever employers are looking at the talent portal, you'll be first if you have the most career points. So definitely want to earn those, and you can earn those by hitting your weekly goals and completing any tasks that might be assigned to you. But aside from what's been assigned to you, you can also add your own tasks, whether it's recurring tasks, daily, weekly, or monthly, like posts on LinkedIn. So this is a great way to keep yourself organized, in addition to the calendar on the right. But say you do get stuck. So with coaching, you also get an unlimited AI career coaching and mock interviews too. So this is V1. We have V2 coming out in the next couple months. But right now for the AI career coach, it's first trained on your profile. So it's going to look at all information, your background experience, and then once it's trained on that, it's going to start asking you different information. So in this case, you can ask, can you help me improve my resume? How can I land more interviews? What should I do to become better at networking? Anything you got, ask it in here, and I'll go back and forth just like a human. And you can even record your responses in here as well. On the mock interview side, that's going to help you prepare for any role. So any role that's in the interview stage, you can say, hey, I'm prepping for an SDR role in a phone interview at Target. And once you start it, there would be a mock interview like this, and it'll ask you 10 questions. So those questions based on the job description, this is what are most likely to be asked for you. So it's very realistic, and we've heard a lot of good feedback on how people really crush their interview after doing a few sessions of this. And then other than the job search stuff, go to your community. So in the community, aside from being able to interact with people here, there's also events. So Prentus itself, we host weekly career coaching sessions that are free, You just have to check the events tab to see the next one, and you can always add that to your calendar. Then there's also like different resources that you'll find here, but also in the feed. So if you want to find something about like resume, then you can type in resume, and any post that we might have will be shown there. So use this as a resource, and instead of combing through all of the internet. And on people side, so this is where you'll be able to see everyone that's currently in your community. So find those people in your community, but you can also talk to people across the entire Prentus network. And remember, just because someone is at the same level as you does not mean that there's no benefit of talking to them. You never know who someone might know and when a relationship will pay off down the line. So some people that I met once 2 years ago, and all of a sudden in the past week, they connected me to someone that I need to be connected with. So definitely invest in relationships now, and it'll start paying off, even though it is a longer game. And then for your profile, this is where you can just optimize stuff. So make sure everything is in here, and that way you'll be prepped and ready to shine whenever Jamie or someone on the Elevate team is showing you off to employers. So it's something you want to definitely tweak and get information from them. And if you want to get alerts, go to your preferences to put what types of roles you're interested in, and you'll get alerts whenever jobs are posted that match it. Yeah, and that's where the problems are right now, but we're also working on different tools around giving you a resume builder and also kind of redesigning things. So I mentioned we want to make the job search fair, fast, and fun. Big emphasis on gamification. So look out for some design stuff being up there in the next couple months to really make it like a video game. That's what we're excited for.
Yeah, this is super helpful. You added a lot of tools. It's been too long since I've been on there and looking around. So yeah, there's a lot of career coaching tools and all that. So all the Elevate folks, you have access to all of this once you hit week 5 and you're onboarded onto Prentus. This is why it's so important to get on there and complete your profile and do all of that stuff so you can take advantage of all of these tools. But imagine you guys are keeping track in HubSpot of all of your deals. Literally, Prentus keeps track of all your interviews, making sure you do thank you notes, follow-ups, cover letters. Like, seriously, you guys should be in there daily once you get onboarded onto Prentus.
Yeah, that's how you build a good habits to get you hired.
So what other good tips, tricks do you recommend, for them getting hired? I know that you mentioned, you can't just apply and then just hang out, and I think sometimes as a new SDR, they get a little frightened. Oh, you actually want me to pick up the phone. You actually want me to reach out. So can you just talk a little bit about why? So you have all these great tools to hunt, and then you're just sitting around waiting for, a job to appear.
Yeah, so that's another thing where reps will just kind of break down the walls, because when you start doing this outreach to different people, initially you're I'm gonna get rejected. I don't want to do it. And then sometimes you finally send the email or do the call, and then you get rejected. You're I knew it. Why did I waste my time? But then, once you get 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, it becomes second nature, and you start noticing the ROI. Because once you get to 100, then there's probably going to be at least one opportunity in there that panned out. And okay, so I got to just hit these numbers and be consistent, and then I'll get results. So repetition on basically everything you're doing in both the job and the job search, and the consistency will build up and pay off over time. Yeah, does anyone have questions? I'm happy to dive into specific things.
Yeah, I mean, Rod's dealing with employers all the time, you guys. So ask away. Charles, what have you got?
Hey Rod, how you doing? Great info. I took some notes on what you were saying these employers are using to disqualify people. Can you like dive a lot deeper into the things we should not, the mistakes we should not make that will automatically potentially disqualify us?
Yeah, so you want like a full breakdown.
Absolutely. I took notes every single one.
So a lot of things. One, spelling mistakes. So don't have spelling mistakes. That's a pretty basic one on resumes and LinkedIn, but you'd be very surprised by what recruiters see. There's a lot of mistakes. So that's one. Two, don't make them guess. So if they're on their link, if on your resume, but you don't have a LinkedIn there, or you don't have like your work experience, like the incomplete information, then they're not going to hunt. They need to know like what's your email, like how can they contact you. So make sure that all that stuff is in there. And same thing on your LinkedIn. Make sure that your work is linked, your past work experience, as well as your contact info, so you can make it as easy as possible for them to start talking to you. Then cover letters. So that was one thing where that just makes you stand out and something that people will filter for. Thank you emails. So make sure to follow up with thank you emails at all time. And sending hiring managers a message after applying. That's a big one. And with all these things, like they used to be pluses. It used to be like, oh, if you do that, like wow, like you're like a top candidate. But nowadays it's like so many people are doing stuff that like it's the opposite. Like, hey, if you don't do it, it's like you're just qualifying yourself for something that was quick.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, who else has questions? Or y'all are working now? Everyone's hired on this call? Like, who has questions? Let's go. Like, Rod has just a ton of knowledge about just kind of where we're at, where we've come from over the last quarter, and and where things are heading as well. So on the overall, are you starting to see like more movement, more roles opening up? Like, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like waves, and also it's industry and company size specific. But I know last week I was talking to a bunch of hiring managers, and like, yeah, we're hiring again, like talent, but then at the same time, like you see like new layoff announcements on LinkedIn. So just know that the biggest news that will be pushed will always be layoffs, because people love the fear porn. But there are companies definitely hiring. Seems like a lot of the companies that like weren't hiring in terms of like later stage startups that can't raise money, they're definitely in trouble. So look at companies that have either recently raised money, which means that they're trending in the right direction, or mid-sized companies where usually best, so like 100 to 500 employees. Then I see you got a couple of hand raises.
Hey Rod.
Yeah, hey Alex.
Thanks for putting this together. So I've got an interview, a first phone interview next Wednesday.
Let's go.
Thank you. And Jamie and I were talking about like how do we make it like impossible for them not to hire me?
Love that.
So do you just have any? So like to give you some more context, like before Elevate, I was just applying to a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I did get an interview, a phone interview, and I thought it went well. They said they'd reach back out, then they ghosted me. So I never want that to happen again. So just kind of on that mindset of Jamie and I, what we were talking about, like how do we make it in that like first initial impression with the recruiter? Like how do I make myself to be that someone where it's like, okay, it's impossible not to at least get a second interview with this guy. It's impossible not to hire this guy.
Yeah, so you really want to just get your value across as much as possible. So they see, hey, like, we need to hire this guy, because like if not, like we're gonna miss out. Competitor's gonna get us, and like he has a bright future. So how do you do that? And other than doing the checklist I was mentioning for Charles.
Yep.
Yeah. So other than doing that, you want to show a lot of interest. So the questions you ask in an interview are, I always say, the most important thing. Like even more than your answers to their questions. because it'll show, one, how interested you are in the position, which everyone wants someone that's obsessed with their company, which, you know, we're obviously everyone's trying to get a paycheck, but you got to kind of flatter them. And then two, it's also going to show how creative you can get, because I can go look up, you know, some interview questions, or post-interview questions online and get a list and ask the same question as everyone else. But if you ask something else that they haven't heard, they can be like, oh, wow, like I remember that question now, when they're considering like who they talk to again. And then another thing for interviews overall, if you can make it feel like you are interviewing them, you won. You know, basically, like there's times I've interviewed people and I have, you know, lists of like 10 questions I want to ask, but I only asked like 3, and it's still, I was like, oh wow, like that was a great candidate. Like I really want to work with them. And it's because most people like answering questions, makes people feel important. That's just like a psychological thing. So yeah, that definitely questions overall.
Sweet. Thanks, Rod.
No problem.
Somebody else had a question too. I think Nicole,
I think
did
Nicole,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question was, because you keep bringing up LinkedIn, but there's so many different job sites out there. Like you got your Flex Jobs, Indeed, Career Builder, and so on from there. Why? I mean, I get you're saying LinkedIn's the most popular, but are those other ones not important either to look at, or just want to get your take on that? Or
No, definitely look at other sites. You know, I always mention LinkedIn just because it's also like a publishing platform for your work and your profile. So you have to be on there anyways. And a lot of companies, like at least in tech companies, which I feel like a lot of you all are trying to go into, they'll be posting on LinkedIn first. But other sites that are great, Well Found, which used to be AngelList. So if you want to look at like startups, a lot of startups post their roles there first out of anything. If you're looking for local roles, Indeed and ZipRecruiter are really great. Usually they're posting like, you know, SDR at the local company in your city. But yeah, definitely diversify, and there's new ones popping up all the time, especially like remote job boards. And if you diversify your sources, you might find something where, you know, maybe it was like a cheap job board where it was a free post, and because of that, you know, no one else applied but you.
okay, thank you.
All right. And then I see some questions. So Coyote, I've seen comments online that this might not be a good time for a career change or jump into tech sales. What is your take? So tech sales is still the strongest out of like career changer roles that I've seen. You know, I talk to software engineers. Software engineers are struggling. UX designers are probably struggling the most. But in terms of going into tech, sales is like the one place, like even companies that are, you know, shrinking, downsizing, like they still want to invest there because either investors are pushing or just overall like we need more money. And as someone that has tried outsourced, you know, the $1,000 a month Filipino, there's nothing that beats someone that is, you know, in the United States and can write a good email and build rapport with whatever prospect it is. So I think definitely still go into tech sales. It's a great field. And, you know, also there's kind of different fields within that. So there's like pre-sales, solutions engineer, eventually like account executive. So there's all these different parts of the sales process you can hop into. So look out for those roles too. So Ravon, I had a couple of recruiters reach out to me for screenings. The day before the screening, I was informed the hiring managers are not accepting any more applications. However, the jobs are posted. How long should I wait to follow up about these roles? So if they cancel the screening, then, you know, nothing to really follow up for, because I've heard of a bunch of people that they interviewed, sometimes 2 interviews already, and then at the end, like, oh yeah, like actually we're not hiring for this role. So that's one thing that sucks about the environment. People are kind of being annoying with the different roles they post and, you know, changing things on the fly. So in terms of follow-up, I would reserve that for people you're doing cold outreach to, not someone that already said, hey, no. Charles, how to decide whether or not to work with an earlier stage company / startup from a risk assessment standpoint. So with any company, honestly, there's going to be a risk. A lot of people, they got hired at big companies 6 months ago, just got laid off, so whatever company you look at, there's going to be inherent risk. Yes, early stage startups are a bigger risk. And if you're looking at earlier stage startups, then I'd never recommend someone that's a junior to join before there's at least like 10 employees, if not like 20, just because you'll be put in a situation with too much kind of pressure on you and not enough room to learn, which is that's what you need early in your career. So look at companies when you're in an early stage, at least 25 plus, and then also ask about like their future growth. Really dive into what are their growth plans, how are they forecasting for this year, and make sure that you have understanding of how healthy they are as a company before deciding to join. Stefan, you can go. Stefan.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're good.
I know you mentioned mid-sized companies before. So like in terms of company size, you would say that's probably the ones that are hiring the most.
Yeah. So we'll confirm that they haven't done layoffs, so you can look
Okay.
at the company before. But that's definitely a huge segment to target because they're going to have enough structure to make you successful early in your career, but two, less likely that they hired 5,000 people in the past year and now have to do a bunch of layoffs. So those companies will be great, and a lot of them are also looking for talent at a lower cost. So compared to that account executive or something that they hired for 300, 400K a year ago, now they might be looking to kind of downsize and start back at scratch at the junior level and bring in some SDRs to grow within. So it's a great opportunity.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any last questions? We've only got a couple minutes left. So if you want to ask Rod questions, and then Rod, I don't know if you want to put your LinkedIn profile in the chat, and then also a link to Prentus for folks that aren't familiar, so they can take a look at it. And
I definitely check out my LinkedIn, and you can go through some posts. So I mentioned that we've done a couple of live sessions. So last week we did one specifically on LinkedIn and went through a bunch of different people's profiles to figure out what the main mistakes people were making and how to improve that. That was last week. And then if you go back 2 weeks ago, we did the same thing for resumes. So you'll see what comprises a great resume, how to structure it, make it easily scannable, and help you stand on applications. And then for our website, this is our main website. So if you're not associated with Elevate, you can also come through in there.
And then I'm going to put the link in for the Elevate program. So if anyone's interested, that's not obviously an Elevate climber, and you're interested in finding out about the Elevate program, I'm going to put a link in there as well. And we're happy to tell you it's a 10-week program, and it just helps you get into that first role and makes Rod referenced it. We work on all those cold calling skills, emailing skills, all of that good stuff.
Yep.
All right, anybody else have any questions? This was really amazing, Rod. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you for having me.
I learned a ton. I had missed some updates, and then also just some good reminders. So I'm actually beefing up the job board. So Elevate folks, you should probably jump into Prentus after this, because I've been filtering in a whole bunch more jobs. So
great. Yeah, and then definitely thank you for having me. And for anyone that ever has questions, remember again, we have weekly career coaching sessions separate from that, whether it's by me or our community manager. So that's a perk of being part of Elevate and part of the Prentus network. So definitely take advantage of that, and post questions also in the Prentus network feed, and always happy to answer that ad hoc.
All right, awesome. If nobody has any more questions, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We will have a recording and we'll post that in Basecamp. And then Rod, I'll send you a copy of the recording as well.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. And